lay a foundation first about my philosophy of thinking and controlling your thinking, because our society really doesn't like to take responsibility for anything. We don't like to take responsibility for our thinking. We don't like to take responsibility for our actions. We don't like to take responsibility for our emotions. And it's led us to a situation where people will basically go to doctors to try to get medicine for things that are not medically based. Now, I'm not a doctor. I'm not going to tell you what is medically based and what isn't. But there are times when things are presented as though they're medically based when they're really not, or they don't know that they are. So this is just one example. Several years ago, this is probably like 10 or 15 years ago now, when Paxil, which is the drug for social anxiety, first came out, they had a commercial that said, "The cause of social anxiety disorder is unknown, but we believe it's related to a chemical imbalance in the brain, and Paxil helps to correct this imbalance." Now, if you don't really pay attention to that, it sounds like, okay, if I have social anxiety, I have a chemical imbalance in my brain and Paxil fixes it. But that's not what they said. They said, we don't know the cause. We think we know what it is, but we don't know for sure. But we know for sure that this drug fixes the cause we don't know is there in the first place. That's a problem, right? Because now people are taking drugs for things that we don't even know for sure are rooted in something physiological. But the idea is, if I can take a drug for something, I'm not responsible for it. Except that then there's also no hope. If the only way I can manage my thinking and my emotions is through drugs, what hope do I ever have of being able to get off those drugs and not being dependent on them? I don't. I have no hope. So there are different approaches to thinking and to emotion, but I really strongly believe that our thinking is what determines everything. Our thinking determines how we communicate. Our thinking determines the emotions we experience. And I'm going to post a link in the group of a TED Talk that I heard recently, where this woman who's a scientist was trying to locate emotions as being hardwired in our brains and that we don't have control over them. And she's done all this research and she came to find out that it's not that. It's really how we think about what we are experiencing in our bodies at any point in time that determines the emotion that we have. And so we absolutely have the ability to control our thinking, to control our emotions, to control our actions. And that's why I wanted to start with these 4 thoughts about marriage, because I can teach people all day long, this is how you should communicate in marriage. This is how you should handle conflict. This is how you should prioritize your relationship. But if your thinking is screwed up, none of the rest of it is going to work.